guys, welcome back to Photography for the Rest of Us, a place for people who love the art of photography. My name is Carrie, and this is week 1, day 2 of our Learn Photo Challenge. All right, you guys, I want to start this video off by saying, oh my gosh, I am so impressed by the turnout of our day 1 project. The amount of images that I saw posted on the thread in our Learn Facebook group was amazing, and there aren't as many of you that have hashtagged on Instagram, but I would love to see those. So don't forget to post on Instagram and use the hashtag Learn Photo Challenge and hashtag Photos for the Rest of Us so that I can see those, because I'm compiling all my favorite ones for a video at the end of the week. All right, so week 1, that means we're still focused on aperture and depth of field, all right? So I want you to think about what depth of field you're choosing for the image, and is it the right depth of field for that image? Just because you shoot a certain way all the time doesn't mean that's the right thing for every image, okay? And day 2, our prompt is, someday I'll get better at that, Animal Kingdom. So this is a wide open prompt. You can shoot pictures of your pets or butterflies or bugs or birds or buffalo or bison. I think those are the same thing. I'm trying to think of more with B. Wow. You know when you're like told to remember something, you can't? Anyway, any animal, anything that you could interact with in the animal kingdom in this next day. Remember, these challenges are supposed to be for you getting better at photography, which means pulling something out that you shot last summer is not the point, all right? This isn't just a share and show. This is about learning and trying new techniques. So try something different today, all right? I want to start out with being completely honest with you guys. I don't take a lot of photos of animals. As a travel photographer, I have been on assignment to like elephant sanctuaries in Thailand. I have worked with some different companies photographing the snow monkeys outside of Tokyo. I take a lot of pigeon pictures because a lot of cities have a lot of pigeons. And I take pictures for local humane society of their pets and that. So like I do take animal pictures, but it's not something that like I would ever call myself an animal photographer at all. And there are people that are amazing at this, and maybe that's you, and I can't wait to see your pictures because mine were a challenge, but we'll get to that. So I want to go over a couple of tips to keep in mind when we're photographing animals. So first off, because we're focusing on aperture, I'm going to start there. Typically with animals, you want a little bit bigger depth of field. Maybe not a huge depth of field, because a little bit softer background can really make, you know, like the bird pop out of the tree and that. But think about it this way, right? We talked about shallow depth of field with people yesterday in the other video. And if you haven't watched that video, go back and watch that one too. And when we're shooting really shallow, so like f1.4, 1.8, 2.8, and that sort of thing, we can get the eyes in focus, but sometimes like even the ears will be out of focus. So I don't have that big of a nose, but my dog does. So if I'm shooting at like 2.8 and I get his eyes in focus, there is no way his nose is gonna be in focus, or his big floppy ears, right? So typically, if you're photographing like a portrait of a dog or something like that, you wanna have a little bit bigger depth of field so that you can get like his whole face in focus, because that's, you know, they like that. Now, if you're shooting a profile or something of an animal that's sitting still, all right, 2.8, that's fine. I'm not saying there's not an exception to the rule. The other reason for having a little bit bigger depth of field when you're shooting with animals is they move. And shutter speed is one thing, but if you have a really shallow depth of field and they just move like this, they might be out of your depth of field before you even can push that shutter button. So if you have a little bigger, a little more wiggle room, it's the same when you're shooting with toddlers, you have a little more wiggle room, right? You can let them move around a little bit within reason, and you're still gonna have a nice sharp focus. They're not gonna get out of your depth of field. So with saying that, the next thing you wanna keep in mind when photographing most animals is you want a faster shutter speed. They move, they're just like kids. All right, so a little faster shutter speed, and if you're trying to like freeze bird flapping or a dog catching a treat or something like that, you're gonna need a significantly faster shutter speed. I tried it out with my dog and I found that I had to be at least 1250 for my shutter speed in order to freeze him chomping for the treat, but you'll see more about that in a second. And I know that with birds' wings, typically it's at least 2000, like super fast, unless you find a very slowly flapping bird. And then ISO obviously adjust as necessary because that's that third part of that triangle, and that's really just your support beam. You need to make your decision, how shallow of a depth of field do you want, or how much motion am I trying to freeze? Make that decision, followed by the other decision, and then support it with the ISO. And sometimes that means you go up in your ISO, and I feel like I need to start a support group for that, but I promise these cameras and Lightroom and Photoshop and all that can support that within reason. When you get to like the top range of what your camera can do, it does start to get a little noisy. But you know, at the end of the day, would you rather get the awesome shot and have it be a little noisy, or would you rather miss the shot completely? For me personally, I will always take the shot. Every single time without fail, because there are too many famous works of art and famous photographs that people almost missed or would have missed if they'd been worried about, you know, having to up their ISO. But I digress. So let's talk about other animals and other things. If your animal that you're choosing to photograph has a lot of texture, sometimes it's nice to have a light coming in from the side. So if you're outside and you're photographing some sort of nature, golden hour is a beautiful time for that because you can get some good texture with side lighting, whereas like overhead light can be really harsh and flat sometimes. Now, I really like shooting in noonday times because I like shadows in that, but not typically with animals. So with animals, you probably want to have kind of more side light. All right, so I'm gonna show you just a couple of inspiration pictures that I found in my archives real quick of photos that I've taken. I like kind of goofy pictures like this one of the pigeon. The stupa is what I was supposed to be photographing, but I thought the pigeon was pretty funny because he was trying to get his close-up in too. I find dogs. This is a dog that I found, I think, in Vietnam. We've got snow monkeys, elephants. There's a goose or a duck, I think, eagle, and then kittens. If you haven't seen my kitten video, that's fun. This is my in-laws' dog the other day when we were sledding. But anyway, so there's some images that I've taken for inspiration. Like I said, this is not my forte. And speaking of that, I like doing demo videos for you guys. So I've done a demo video for you guys. For better or worse, let's watch it now. And I hope that you guys see what I was going for. I did freeze motion. I did get good photos. My dogs, I've had them both for about 10 years. They're both pound puppies and they're big goofballs. And the little white one, Abby, is wonderful, but not the most photogenic. And I don't know if you noticed in the video, but George somehow has forgotten how to sit down and would not sit for the pictures. It would take 40 times of us telling him to sit before he'd sit down. So that was really a comedy of errors happening there. And I thought about not including the video, right? I thought about not showing you guys that. But I mean, let's be real. That's how shoots go sometimes. I'm not saying I dislike those photos. I've got some funny ones in there, but they're not going in my portfolio anytime soon. But I'm gonna kind of talk you guys through my settings that you saw in the video, just so that you have an idea if you want to try it because you have a better behaved or more photogenic pet to photograph. So real fast, so that this video doesn't turn out like crazy long, I was using LED lights. They're LED soft boxes. I got like a pack of 3 for $150 on Amazon. I really like them in comparison to like the ones that use the light bulbs because I can decide how bright or dim they are. I can also control the color temperature. I typically use them for videos, specifically like this one for you guys. There's one right here on my face. But they work really well for babies and animals. I don't like using flashes with animals, though using a strobe would have absolutely helped me in this situation. And then, like I said, fast shutter speed, but I also didn't want to open up my aperture completely. So I think I settled on a pretty high ISO, my shutter speed at 1250, my depth of field, so my aperture was like, I think at 5.6, I think. Somewhere in there. I tried a couple of them. Honestly, I would have liked more, but I just wasn't getting enough light out of those LEDs. And then my ISO, I think I was all the way up to like 3,000 or 4,000. Like I was pretty high. But you can see the pictures are fine. Like they're fine. If you wanted to put them on a billboard, they might be a little grainy, but for Instagram and Facebook, they're totally fine. With a little bit of Lightroom magic, and there you go. One other thing to keep in mind with that, well, first, if you can do it in a better lit room than my super dark, dingy basement with my little LEDs, it will absolutely work better. So try it outside on your porch or in your backyard or anywhere that has window light. And that'll work better for you, and your settings won't have to be quite as extreme as mine ended up being. But the big thing with that is you need a fast shutter speed, because if you want to catch that look on the dog's face instead of just a blur of movement, you have to have a really fast shutter speed. And for some of the dogs that are maybe younger and more agile than mine are, it might have had to be a little faster. Okay, so that is my synopsis for today. I know it's not as in-depth, but hopefully the video at least amused you guys. I am so excited to see all of your animal shots. Don't forget to post them on Instagram with hashtag LearnPhotoChallenge and hashtag photos for the rest of us so I can find them. If you are not in the Learn Facebook group, please, with Anna Tenne. By the way, you guys, if you have not checked her out, I'm putting her details below again, but it's her group. She's hosting this and she's amazing. So check out her business page. She's an awesome mentor, and she's great at teaching editing, like Lightroom and that sort of thing. So check her out. But the Facebook group and Anna's information is below, and my Instagram if you don't follow me and you want to, because, you know, I'm fun. Yeah, post in the thread in the group, post on Instagram with the hashtags, hit subscribe and like and the notification bell, and comment below if you're having fun with all of this, because I really like interacting with you guys. And I will see you tomorrow for day 3 of week 1.